really happy to have Jim Dreaver back with us, presenting particularly the topic you've chosen, forgiveness, love, and freedom. And I know myself, I work at sending prayers and loving energy to the situation and to Putin, and struggle with that forgiveness. And I know that freedom lies in that. So I so appreciate you bringing this topic to us. And welcome back. Love to have you.
Thank you, Mary Grace. Thank you. Well, forgiveness, love, and freedom. So let's begin with a meditation, a guided meditation, just to bring us all into the same awareness. So you can close your eyes or keep your eyes open, it doesn't really matter. Just be here now.
About Ukraine.
Breathe and be here now.
Dreaver.
Can you all hear me clearly? To raise your hands. So good. So just pay attention to the sound of my voice, how it comes out of silence and dissolves back into silence. And notice the fact that you are the awareness that's aware of my voice. Your true nature is pure awareness, pure consciousness. Notice any sounds are in your environment. Sounds of appliances or birds, traffic from outside. Notice how those sounds too come and go. But you, the awareness of the sounds, are always here. Now pay attention to the feelings and sensations in your body. Whatever they are, just welcome them. Notice how they too come and go, shift and change. Even pain doesn't last forever. And alters its tempo, its intensity. Just notice how these feelings and sensations come and go too. But you, the awareness of the sensations and feelings, are always here. Finally, pay attention to the thoughts in your mind. The I thought, the me thought, thoughts of yesterday, tomorrow. Notice how these thoughts come and go as well. Thought, even the I thought, the me thought, the ego thought you must first identify with, comes and goes. But you, the awareness of the thoughts coming and going, are always here. So what we truly are is this awareness that's always here. An awakening or enlightenment, or self-realization, is all about getting in touch with that awareness that is always here. That is who we are. That is never not here. So just sink into yourself as a pure awareness, pure consciousness, here now. Just relax into the feeling of being right here, right now. Now, yesterday I was working with a client on Zoom and Skype actually. And she asked me, I need to forgive my ex-husband. How do I deal with that? My ex-husband, she had all this negative energy around. And I gave her a mantra. And the mantra was this: seeing through this ego me makes me truly free. Seeing through this ego me makes me truly free. And there and then she got it. She'd been around these non-dual teachings as they're called, for many years. There's something that a shift in that moment, and she saw through the ego me. She saw that she wasn't that ego me. She had me, but immediately the me comes and goes. And she woke up. It was amazing. It was one of the rare sessions where it happens like right there. And it was beautiful. And she felt so free. And that's what this work is all about. The work that I do, the work of awakening, is truly about inner freedom, becoming free of everything. And then your emotional state becomes one of ease, harmony, and flow, basically. You're always in a state of ease, harmony, and flow. And then occasionally when things happen to shake us up, of course, then they were shaken up. Like Sarah witnessed the yesterday, with the woman who killed herself. I've known half a dozen suicides personally in my life. So I know what it must take to end life prematurely. The impact that has on people. The questions that leaves people with why they do this. So I'm from New Zealand originally. I came to California. I came to the United States in 1972, studied to be a chiropractor, thinking I would go back to New Zealand and build a practice with my first wife. And ended up staying here, long story short, ended up staying in California. I realized I'd come to California to find freedom. That's what I was always looking for, true inner freedom, which some circles is called awakening or enlightenment or self-realization. And in the end, I finally woke up. I had a teacher named Jean Klein, who some may have heard of, was a non-dual teacher from Europe. And he lived the last years of his life in Santa Barbara, where I live. And I saw him about 6 months before he died in 1998, at the age of 86. And he needed round-the-clock care at that point. He had a couple of strokes and had problems with his kidneys and couldn't move very well. In fact, he asked me to give him a chiropractic adjustment so I'd lay him gently on the couch we were sitting, and we did it. I gave him an adjustment. But the light of consciousness shone through his eyes, clear, luminous consciousness that he knew himself as. Now, when I woke up myself a few years later, actually 1995, which is 3 years earlier, when I woke up, I saw that I had to forgive myself. I felt depressed. And I had to forgive myself for my depression. I had to fully accept myself. And I asked myself, who is this me that's depressed? Of course, I couldn't find the me. I looked over inside myself for the me, and I couldn't find it. This is just a thought form, a concept, a construct, a story. I feel depressed, I'm depressed. I woke up the next morning, 3 mornings in a row, I woke up feeling depressed. And then I realized there was no me. And then I was free. I found the freedom that I'd so eagerly sought all my life, I realized. I just wanted to be free of everything, free of even the name Jim Dreaver, which I realized was just a name that they may go by, right? My identity in the world, but I'm not my world identity. I'm always this here now. So now my teachings come down to two things. The me cannot be found, and there's only now. The more you realize that the me cannot be found, the more you live in the now. You live in this moment now. And as I said, forgiveness has to be a part of the process, because so long as you're holding a grudge toward anybody, resentment, either toward yourself for having screwed up your life, or toward other people, it's really about ourselves. You cannot be free. So this morning I would invite you to just look inwardly at who you still may have a grudge toward. Maybe it's toward yourself, or maybe it's toward somebody else. It begins with our outer grudges, outer resentments, but then it comes inward to really the source of the lack of forgiveness is we need to forgive ourselves. When we do that, the ego slips into the background, because the ego is mainly held together by its judgments and criticism and resentments, people it blames. So we still have an ego. I still have an ego, of course. But now our ego becomes the servant of our being, rather than the master of our being. When the ego is controlled, it creates havoc. Witness Vladimir Putin and his massive ego invading the invasion of Ukraine. It's terrible things that are happening there. So this is it. When you live in freedom, it's the greatest blessing of all. I remember John Klein saying once that the predominant state of an awakened person is gratitude. And I realized that is so true. You're just grateful for being alive. You're grateful to be here. You're grateful to still have an opportunity to contribute. So again, I would like to invite you to look within and see if there's somebody you haven't forgiven, you held a grudge toward, resent. Maybe it's yourself. And then my new book is called Untriggerable. And it's on the theme of, what are our triggers? What triggers us? Maybe a person, a situation. It's how to deal with our triggers, because facing our triggers and actually dealing with them is the quickest way to be free of them. There's an old Irish saying, if you run away from a ghost, it'll chase you and haunt you for the rest of your life. If you stop and turn and face it, it'll disappear, because ghosts aren't real. And so it is with our triggers. The more we face them, the more we welcome them, but the more we love them, the freer we are of them. And we eventually begin to say to ourselves, bring it on, I want to see where I'm not yet free. Bring it on, I want to see where I'm not yet free. When you say that to yourself, then you're really on the road to freedom. And freedom happens very quickly. So when this woman I was working with yesterday saw that it was her ego that had this judgment about her husband, and she wasn't her ego, because the ego comes and goes. And we're not anything that comes and goes. We are what is always here, right now. We're this pure awareness, pure consciousness that's here right now. When she saw that it wasn't her ego, that it was her ego that was judging, She wasn't her ego. She was free in that moment. It happened so quickly. So freedom is all about seeing. You got to see that you're not your ego. You have an ego, but you're not your ego. Most people don't see that. They live from their ego. They think they are their ego. And so the way to get free of your ego is to see where your triggers are. Because your triggers are showing you you're not yet free. So what happens is that as you become freer, your mind becomes much quieter, becomes more spacious. You have much less thought going on. You're just more present without a story, more present without thoughts. And then your powers of intuition are multiplied, are increased. You just intuitively know what to do in any given situation. When your mind is empty and quiet, you get a lot more room to think creatively. That's when we access our true power. So with that introduction, I invite you to, anybody want to share anything, anybody want to ask a question or work with the trigger, I'm open. I'm open to whatever, open to the unknown. Jonathan, you raised your hand?
I did. It's quite interesting. I had to, there was a meeting I was supposed to have at 8 o'clock. And so I showed up and there's nobody there. And so, yeah. And so then I came back and I saw that I wanted to hold them accountable because this was the second day. There was another meeting at 8 yesterday and nobody was there on the link. And I didn't have the link that they were on. And then as I'm sitting here, I realized, okay, that's my ego wanting to hold them. And this is really nourishing for the meditation, for everything. I'm really seeing how life presents situations, and if I'm available, they all fit, they support this awakening. So very grateful to connect with you.
Beautiful.
And yeah. And I'm very grateful for this community.
Yes. Community connection is so important.
Yeah, and that's the name of this. I'm co-facilitating it, and it's around connections.
Right.
That's the title for the next 5 days, 4 days. Yeah, connections.
Beautiful. Jonathan, thank you.
Thank you, and thank everyone for the connection. Yeah.
Mary Grace.
I am really appreciating the experience I have with you every time, Jim, which is I can feel the silence, the peacefulness, and it does. I feel like I pull up from me, the personality, and watch. Really, probably the biggest gift in my life that I would never have asked for as a human being is the struggles with the relationship with my son and the heartache over the years. But, you know, I have, it's forced me to really work at forgiveness, not for him so much, but for myself around that, for mistakes I may have made as a mother. And how that heartache at the time has been the very thing that has kind of ripped me open, opened me to a deeper level of, the self. And I especially appreciate what you were saying in your speaker form about Putin and the others of holding that balance of, yes, in this world, they need to be held accountable, and what more love is more forgiveness. I know that in my life, and I have a belief that that makes a difference in the world too. So I just appreciate what you bring. Thank you.
Welcome. You know, there's a bench dedicated to John Klein in Santa Barbara, on Henry's Beach, right next to the Birdhouse Restaurant. And it sums up his teaching in 7 words. All things appear and disappear in silence.
Mm.
All things appear and disappear in silence. And it says John Klein, sage, teacher, author. And I remember visiting that bench when I first moved to Santa Barbara like 10 years ago, and contacting his widow, Emma, I forget her last name now, who lives in England. And
Edwards.
Emma Edwards, right. She confirmed to me that the group of lovers of John Klein, its teachings, he'd written many books, had put the bench together. So when we're truly silent and go within, that's when we discover the deeper truths about ourselves. Hence the John Klein's teaching, all things appear and disappear in silence. And that's why monks pray in silence. That's why yogis remain silent for many years, some of them. They're called Muna yogis. You dwell in silence, live in silence. Now, particularly in our culture, America, which I've been living here for like since 1972, we love noise, right? We love things happening, and it's great. I love music myself. I've listened to all kinds of music. Raised in rock and roll. I remember driving across the Auckland Harbour Bridge when I was like 18 or 19, hearing this new music by the Beatles, an unheard of band. It's called I Want to Hold Your Hand. I was thinking to myself, my God, that's a brand new sound. I've never heard a sound like that. I was hooked on the Beatles. And but now when people ask me what kind of music I like, I usually say this. I like all kinds of music, but my favorite music is the music of silence. I love silence. And when true people meet who love the silence, they meet in a place that's vast and intimate at the same time. Krishnamurti was my first teacher. J. Krishnamurti, who I can't read anymore because he's so intellectual. And but I love the quote he's made about meditation. Meditation is the ending of thought. Only then is a different dimension which is beyond time. Meditation is the ending of thought. Only then is a different dimension which is beyond time. In meditation, the ending of thought, you enter the true silence, the silence of the universe, the silence behind everything in the universe. Yes, the silence is very present. It's very much here now. You have to be present to hear the silence. When you realize that the me cannot be found, there's only here now, and that here now is silence. And then we have the me. I still have a me, of course. I still have used thoughts. I still think, but my mind is a lot quieter now. When you meet another human being in pure, true silence, and it's beautiful. Is anybody else? Yes, Isa.
Am I unmuted? Yeah.
Um,
I was taken when you referenced appreciation. I recently read something that said, if you just spent the rest of your life looking for things to appreciate, you would have a full, rich, wonderful life. And in my contemplation, I have recently expanded my meditations to contemplation, which allows me to be active in the presence of everything rather than trying to clear my mind. I actually allow my mind to fill up. And in doing that, something happened that I'd never experienced. I felt the exhilaration of appreciation. I was looking at a piece of art and I felt myself just fill up with like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This person put in such work and it's just brilliant. And I'm so proud of that person. I don't know this person, but it was and I realized that appreciation was so underrated. I mean, it's a high emotion just to let it fill me up. And when I'm reading something and I have to put it down because I think I'm going to cry because it's just so well written, it's like, damn, I appreciate this. And it's been a wonderful experience. And now I look for, it's like, this is so wonderful. This is wonderful. And so thank you. Thank you. I've heard you speak many times, and today I'm hearing you speak.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, Lisa. Thank you. Wonderful to appreciate and to be appreciated. And the ultimate appreciation, I guess, that's where the word hallelujah was invented, right? Oh, wow. Yes, Michaela.
No, it's Michelle. You were perfect. First time out, Jim. Again, thank you so much for being here and for what you're sharing with us. I would like to have you share a little bit more about how one holds what's going on currently in Ukraine, and the whole thing to do. I'm in daily contact with people in Ukraine, displaced students, citizen soldiers, and working with them on a weekly basis and wanting to be a source of hope and comfort. And I need to start with me first. I've already experienced the trauma of what's happening to the point where I was ripping skin off my own feet. And that is something that I had done when I was in Iraq, and seeing things that were so overwhelming to me as, the suffering of the people. Yes. So I would like your thoughts, insights, counsel on how we, those of us that are not in that situation yet, connected to it, obviously worldwide, but also connected personally with people, how we can help them and help ourselves, and how to hold this from the standpoint of what you're sharing today.
Oh, thank you, Michelle.
Mhm.
Wow, that's a huge responsibility. I would say just be as present as you can be in every moment, and use the mantra I shared. Seeing through this ego me makes me truly free. Seeing through this ego me makes me truly free. And when you speak with the students, just be as present as you can be. It's free of ego. You are free of ego. And I know you desire to help people. And just, that's it. Just be as intensely present as you can be. Just do your best.
You make me cry. Thank you.
Pardon me?
I said you make me cry. Thank you.
You know, when you get lost in thought a story, that's a signal to come back to now, come back to the present moment. You know, I've been in the war situation. I was in Vietnam for 13 months during the Vietnam War. I was there as a young authority officer from New Zealand Forces. And so I've experienced death and suffering, the population, the civilian population. And part of the reason why I do the work that I do is because I want to see an end to war. I want to see, in my new book, Untriggerable, there's a section on politics and war lesson. And I want war to become an anachronism, which is, I think, of the past. No longer with us. We're a long way from that happening. But there's only now. That's the thing, is there's only now. There's only this moment now. The freer you are of the me, the more you realize it's only now. We honor the past. We keep an eye on the future, including setting goals, making plans. We live rooted here in this moment now. We honor the past, keep an eye on the future. We live rooted in this moment now.
Sharing that with the students, the university students, because we are creating our preferred future, which is without war, Jim.
Yes.
But and that's powerful, very powerful. But what would you, I understand the being in the moment, and I thank you for that. But also, is there anything else that, from your wisdom and insight, you would have me share with them? Offering them, you know, some thoughts about how they can hold their present reality, which is a tough one.
Yeah. I think that's it for now. Just be as present as you can be. And I hope, of course, hope for an end to this war. Hope that Putin finally decides he's had enough. Ron? Question?
Dr. Dreaver, Ron Safier here, part of the group for 20 years. I've heard you a number of times, and I've listened closely and I've made notes over the years. Sometimes I don't understand my own handwriting, but I figure it out. But today, based upon what Anita said, I understood you from a different perspective, and I really thank you for that. And my question is, I'm just curious how old you are, number one. Number two, your history from childhood. about your parents and where you were raised and what that influence was on your life going forward when you had this great epiphany to start helping others. I would appreciate that.
Well, it's a tall order. I'm 75 years old, and I never thought I'd get to this age. Well, most of us can relate, right? How the heck did we get this old? Anyway, that was my question. And I grew up in a family. I was born in 1946. At the end of the World War, and New Zealand at that time was a pretty patriarchal country, very homophobic, and I was the eldest of three boys. And I ran away from home actually when I was 14. Didn't stay away from home for very long, just a weekend, but I realized I was lonely at night. And I realized I missed my family, even though as screwed up as it was. My mother and father were not happy, but people those years didn't get divorced. Only one divorced kid from my school in Takapuna, New Zealand. And then I went and joined the army and became an officer, and I thought I found my niche in life. But when I came back from Vietnam, they wanted to send me back to Vietnam again, and I didn't want to go. I had my Vietnam epiphany, which is, my God, I get killed here. And I didn't want to die. So I got out of the army and became a chiropractor, and I was a writer then. But it was always my love for freedom, inner freedom, personal freedom, that drove me. I wanted to be free to myself, but here's the kicker. I knew that real, true inner freedom, I had to get enlightened. Whatever that was, I had to get enlightened. And enlightenment just coming on the scene in many ways. And a lot of mistrust around enlightenment. Is it possible to be free? But yes, I'm living proof it's possible to be free. You got to be free of the me. You got to discover that you're not this ego I that you think you are. That's what freedom is. But until people wake up, they think they are their ego I. I'm me, I'm Jim Dreaver. They very much identify with that. But we're not that, because the ego comes and goes. We're not anything that comes and goes. We're the awareness, the consciousness, the beingness, the presence that is always here, right now in this very moment. We're never not here. So awakening to ourselves as this, right here, right now, is what awakening freedom is all about. Ron, I trust that has answered your question to some degree anyway.
You did an amazing job, and I thank you. Tears in my eyes and love in my heart. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ron. Beautiful. Oh. I can see why you all love meeting in this group. It's early though, but I normally sleep till 8 o'clock. So. Anybody else? Yes, Isaac. Unmute yourself.
I think she's talking to someone else. She's in her office.
Oh, okay. So we come back to now. It's our default. or go to practice. We always come back to now. When we find ourselves lost in a thought, you breathe and come back to now. Come back to this moment now. And being comfortable with silence is what it's all about. You must be comfortable with nothing happening. You must be comfortable with nothing going on. Just breathing and relaxing to the joy of pure being. And look at your triggers from that place of calm and presence. Look at your triggers, where you still get triggered. It's showing you where you're not yet free. Your triggers are showing you where you're not yet free. Because when you're free, you become untriggerable, essentially. We're still human, we still have an ego. We still have memories of old patterns. You get triggered momentarily. John Klein called them residues. Residues of old ego patterns. So even when once you're awake and free, residues can still arise from time to time. I remember when I woke up in 1995, 27 years ago, to the fact that I wasn't my ego. I then flowed in harmony for the next 6 months. And then something happened in my life, some situation, I got triggered. And I remember it was around money, financial circumstances. I remember thinking to myself, am I losing my enlightenment? Am I losing my freedom? I kind of wobbled in this place for about 4 hours. And suddenly, then I read something about Jean Klein saying how it's important to understand that residues could arise, residues of old ego patterns. And I realized there's a residue. And the minute I saw that, it dissolved. I was back in freedom again. And another 6 months passed, and something else happened in shorter length of time. I was wobbled. It's a great Zen saying, sit or stand, above all, don't wobble. Sit or stand, above all, don't wobble. Make up your mind. Either this or either sit or stand, but don't wobble. Wobbling is the indicative of a mind that is an ego that is wobbling itself. Can't make up its mind. I remember a time when I was eating dinner. I lived in Northern California, Sonoma County, Santa Rosa, Sebastopol for like 30 years. That's where I had my enlightenment, awakening. I remember going out to dinner at Occidental, little town of Occidental, if anybody knows that town, and a small town, the Redwoods. And the waiter came up to me and have you made up your mind yet, sir? He asked. I said, no, I haven't quite decided what I want to eat. Then I thought to myself, gosh, that's my sort of decision I've had to make all day, what to eat. I just noted that. Seemed somehow important, noteworthy. And then I ordered.
Jim, you have 5 more minutes.
Okay. Lisa, do you have a question? Amy,
Where do you get your book, Untriggerable?
email me. And I'll send it to you.
I'm sure Mary Grace will put that in the
Yes.
notes.
I'll email the information to the group for Jim.
And second, isn't it like something that you have to keep coming back to? You think you're awake and you think you've reached that pinnacle of like, but then something else, another layer of it comes undone, and you realize how asleep you were. And then you have to keep, just waking up to the now and the now again. And it's, your love, what was it? Love, peace, and forgiveness. So, and we can't, letting go of forgiveness, but I think hurt is also part of the ego too, that if we're hurt, I think that's what I must be sitting in because of lack of connection with family of origin, that I have to let that go too, because that's not about me. That must be me wanting to hold on to something that's not in the now.
Right. So, Amy, you live in LA?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so LA is a busy place. And let's see where do I want to go with this. It has caused many distractions. So you keep coming back to the now. But you said, use the word I in your conversation. I must go. Or what did you say, I again? The key thing is that you identify with that I. You still haven't broken that identity. You must see that the I itself, the me itself, is not real, because it comes and goes. When you do achieve that, when you realize that, it's all about seeing. It's all about seeing. When you realize that the I itself is a story, the storyteller is no more real than the stories it tells. When you see that, then you're free. And once you're free, you're free. You don't have to keep coming back to the now. You realize that the now is all there actually is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. When you see that there's no me, the me doesn't actually exist. That's the greatest freedom.
You have a couple of minutes, Jim, if you want to wrap it up.
Yeah, so seeing that the me is not real because it comes and goes. It's only relatively real. Your true nature, your true divine nature is open-hearted, loving awareness, consciousness. That's who we really are. The me comes and goes. The thoughts come and go. The story comes and goes.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for your wisdom and your gifts.
You're welcome, Linda. Happy to share them.